Hi Year 6 and welcome to Monday's reading lesson. So all this week we are going to focus on non-fiction in reading and we're going to link it to Holes. We're going to find out about some of the animals that were mentioned at the start of Holes. So last week in English you researched the yellow-spotted lizards yourself. The work that I saw from that was absolutely fab. We're going to delve into two of the other animals mentioned, the rattlesnake and the scorpion. So for today's lesson, you need the rattlesnake's text off of the website. Now, if you're able to print, then fabulous. You should have that printed next to you. That will be really helpful. So if you want to print it, stop me now, go along and get it. That'd be great. If you haven't got it, you can't print it out, that's absolutely fine. I've got it up on the screen here. It might be a little bit small, but I think you can still see it. I'm going to read it. We're going to annotate some key points together, and then we're going to answer some questions afterwards. So if you haven't got it printed, you can't print it, that's fine. Just grab a pen and a paper because you might want to make some notes as I read, and then you're going to need a pen and a paper to answer some questions as we go through today's lesson. So if you've got a copy, read along. If not, have a look at the screen. I'm going to read it to you and I'm going to pick out some keywords and kind of mention things that you might want to note down, just like I would in class, okay? So, rattlesnakes. Now, we can see that this is a non-fiction text because it's got some diagrams dotted throughout and it's just set out a little bit differently than if it was fiction. So the first thing I can see is this bit here. It's got a little picture there and it says Eastern Diamondback Rattlesnake. Type reptile, diet carnivore, average lifespan in the wild 10 to 20 years, size 5.5 feet, so 5.5 feet. That's long. I'm making this face because 6G, no, I hate snakes, and just thinking of a 5'5" long snake doesn't make me feel very happy. Weight 5 pounds. Okay, so some of the words in there that we might not get. Lifespan. So if we're not sure what lifespan means, it just means how long you live. So on average, they live 10 to 20 years. Diet carnivore. So carnivore means that they eat meat. So rattlesnakes are carnivores. Let's have a look at the main body of the text now. We've got a lovely picture of a rattlesnake there to help us understand what we're talking about. So rattlesnakes live in many places and habitats in the Western Hemisphere, from mountains to deserts and plains. Now that Western Hemisphere, let's look on my map. Do you remember we talked last week, 6G at least, we looked at a globe and we talked about the places that were hotter and colder, and we talked about the equator, which kind of is the invisible line that cuts the earth in half. So you've got different hemispheres of the earth. So the western side is where they're living. You can see here, North America is the continent. The bit that's yellow is actually where they generally live. So that's a part of North America. So this is North America. That's where they actually live, okay? Now remember, our book is set in Texas, which is in North America. There are more than 24 rattlesnake species, and all of them have that most famous feature, the rattle. They've used a colon there, which we learnt in English as well, to say this is a famous feature. What's the feature? It's the rattle. So that use of colon is a good thing to spot. The rattle is found at the tip of the rattlesnake's tail. The snake uses the rattle to warn potential aggressors to back off or to distract its prey. So, warning potential aggressors to back off. Now, this word aggressor, we might not have seen it before, but it feels a little bit like it's coming from the same place as the word aggressive, and it is. So an aggressor is someone who's going to be aggressive towards you. So if something is coming to potentially attack the snake, it will use its rattle to warn them off. That's one thing it can do. Or it can distract prey. So prey being the animals that the snake would eat. It can use its rattle to distract them while presumably its mouth comes and eats them. And it just makes me do that. It's not helping my dislike for snakes, thinking about it rattling to distract. So let's carry on. The famous rattle noise comes from the sound created when hollow and bony donut-like segments in the rattle bang together. So it's got like little, like a donut, so like that kind of... to the camera, like that kind of shape. bony pieces together, and it's basically banging them together like a shaker, making that rattle. As rattlesnakes age, segments on the end of the rattle wear out and break off. New segments grow when the rattlesnake sheds its skin or molts. Okay, so you might have seen that snakes shed their skin and get a new skin. So it's just exactly the same as that for other snakes, but bits of the rattle break off. Like other snakes, rattlesnakes don't have ears and can't hear most sounds. They detect movement by sensing vibrations in the ground. So they can't really hear, they feel the sound. So they feel vibrations of someone moving. So they can't hear someone coming, they feel it. And their eyes see well, even in low light. So even when it's quite dark, they're going to be able to see well. The rattlesnake's triangular head contains a hollow spot between the eyes and nostrils called a pit. So on its head there, its head's kind of a triangular shape. If it was looking at us, between its eyes and its nostrils, we've got a pit. This pit is actually a sensory organ that helps the rattlesnake hunt in darkness by detecting body heat. Okay, so it's got this spot between its eyes and nostrils, the pit, and that helps it to sense. Helps it to detect body heat so that it can hunt. So it detects that there's body heat coming from somewhere. It knows that there's another animal in front of it or beside it, and then it can hunt and it can eat it. Okay, and then we've got the map at the bottom, which we've already touched on, and it says where the western diamondback rattlesnake lives. There. Okay, so hopefully you were able to follow that along. Hopefully you've made some notes. I'm going to ask a couple of questions now. Okay, so jot them down if you think you've got the answer. What I might actually do is move, bear with me for 2 seconds. If I move that along, then you can see, if you haven't got the text printed, you'll be able to see it. So take a minute then, pause me, have a look at our retrieval question. So these shouldn't be too challenging. They're just picking it out of the text. So you don't have to think of anything new. You're just picking it out of the text. So the question is, what is the function of the snake's rattle? So the function of something is what it is used for. So pause me and jot down, using the text, your answer to that question and then come back. Okay, the function of the snake's rattle. So it's this part of the text here. It uses its rattle to warn potential aggressors to back off or to distract prey. So you might have copied that. So you might have said the rattle is for warning potential aggressors or to distract prey. Or you might have put that into your own words and just say to distract animals that it's hunting, distract prey, or warn off predators or warn off animals that are going to eat it. And either one of those would be great. So well done if you got that. Let's have a look at the next one. I'm going to just do the same thing and pop the text up, just because if you haven't got it, you're going to find that a bit more difficult. This should be quite an easy one that you'll probably be able to just shout out at the screen to me. But if you need to pause and jot down, then do. So which continent is home to rattlesnakes? Pause me if you need a minute, otherwise shout at the screen. And hopefully you're all saying North America. So that is the continent that rattlesnakes live on. Okay, next retrieval question then. Let's just do the same thing. Thank you for bearing with me. Just make it easier for those people who haven't got it printed. Perfect. So, next question. What is the name of the organ in the snake's head which senses body heat? Again, you might jot it down. Pause me if you need to read it back and jot it down. But if you know it, if you can remember it from reading, then just yell it out at me. And hopefully we are all saying the pit. So remember, it was this part here, the pit, and that is its little hollow spot between its eyes and nostrils. Okay, last question here now. Now it might be a little bit tricky for me to fit all these on. Let me see. That will do nicely, I think. So the last one's might take a little bit longer, and you can choose whether you're going to kind of take the easiest option or whether you're going to give yourself a little bit of challenge for this one, okay? So it's our last question for today. I want you to list the 3 features of the rattlesnake that help them to hunt in the dark. If you want to challenge yourself a little bit, your challenge is to write this as an extended answer. So using full sentences and a paragraph, answer the question, explain how rattlesnakes are able to hunt in the dark. So pause me either way and then come back. I'll go through the answers. Try to push yourself and do that explain question, because we've done quite a lot of explain questions in class where you just have to write some sentences and link them up and use what's in the text. If that seems a little bit too tricky, then just list as bullet points 3 features, 3 things that help them to hunt in the dark. Pause me and come back. Okay, so you should have had, and whether you've written this in a paragraph or whether you've written it as bullets, it's going to be the same key information. So helping them to hunt in the dark. So they've got their pit, okay, the sensory organ that detects body heat, that helps them. Their eyes are adapted to low light so they can still see. And then they sense the vibrations in the ground, so you wouldn't need light for that. So those would be the 3 things, okay? So detecting vibrations to sense movement, eyes that can see well in low light, and the pit to help them detect body heat. So well done, if whether you chose the challenge or not, well done if you got those 3 things. Okay, fab job today, year 6. That ends today's reading lesson. Join me again tomorrow where we're going to do some more on non-fiction. Well done.